Today we're going to be covering an article sent to me by T. Bing. The article is from Bustle, let's face it. It's everyday feminism's replacement. Save everyday feminism, everyone. I need lols. The article's topic is about sexist 50's ads. And reading the article, I've borrowed Viper Sword 100, because there are only so many times I can hear my voice back before I start to do my head in. We're also going to be borrowing a video with permission from Anna May Renee, because she covered a similar topic very recently. And I thought it wise to integrate some of what she has done with what we are about to do today. So let's jump in, shall we?
You've definitely heard that a picture is worth 1,000 words, so why has no one ever thought to combat sexism using that axiom?
I think you'll find with most cases that particular axiom does in fact hold true. It's used as a form of evidence, and that could in fact be used certainly in areas of the United Kingdom, maybe even parts of the US. I'm not too familiar with US law with prosecuting people under laws that are related to sexism. We have misogyny, we don't have all sexism, but I'm sure you're one of those outlets that doesn't think reverse sexism, or the other aspect of sexism that's often ignored, is real.
Enter Cammy Crawford and Nicholas Ferroni, a pair of activists armed with only terrible advertisements and a flair for Photoshop.
Well, I do think now would be a good time to introduce the two activists. I have one small criticism. You claim the adverts to be terrible. I think some of them are amusing. It depends on how easily offended you are.
Shot by Christopher Horn, these reimagined sexist 1950s ads do a terrific job of using the absurdity of the old ads to really get you thinking about how prevalent sexism still is in society.
Well, I think now would be a good time to address some of the images that they have created for us. No doubt they highlight some of the horrific sexist acts that are prevalent in our society. So the first image we have, the chef does everything but cook. That's what husbands are for. I'm giving my hubby a Kenwood chef. I like the image. I like it. I like the fact it's a complete rip on the reversal of roles, of course. I don't take offense to it, but I know that adverts like this, because of the reason they're being made, to highlight the sexism of having the woman serve as the cook, even though most chefs around the world, the best chefs, most renowned chefs are all male, suck on that. We're going to have a look at one more image before we continue. There are more images and we will go through those later. Keep him where he belongs, role reversal being keep her where she belongs. He must look amazing in those high heels. And based on that look on his face, he really wants to wear them. And I'm not going to judge him. He may look slamming hot in those.
That's hot.
Ah, fantastic.
Crawford, a TV personality, and Ferroni, a high school teacher and activist, have combined their long-standing dedication to the feminist cause with this campaign. They both recognise that there is a lot of work to be done.
And ads like this, that will highlight the true sexism in our society, are going to do so much to help.
I can't think of a worse message to send a young girl.
I can. Be a feminist.
As much as we like to think we're living in a society where equality is valued, the sad truth is that misogyny is still currently governing our country, Crawford tells Brussels via email.
I don't know if equality is valued. Meritocracy is something where value can be certainly considered, regarded, and held to high regard. Equality is what it should be. It should just be it. And for the most part, equality exists. Now, there are some gaping holes in society where there are blatant displays of sexism towards men and towards women, but it depends on how you look at it. There are some laws that quite clearly favour women over men, and there are some programs that exist now that should not, that a lot of women would consider sexist because they are wrong. It's all about context, I guess, but I think you're focusing on the important issues like 1950s ads being rehashed with gender roles reversed. I like the fact you're only focusing on two genders, by the way. That's very progressive.
On the other hand, Ferroni comes at it from a perspective granted to him by his profession. As a history teacher, I can honestly say that history continues to repeat itself, he says. Politics, of course, but also a part of what got him thinking about the issue. With the current political climate, it seemed very relevant that sexism is very alive and even proudly accepted, he adds.
Firstly, I'm very happy when it said granted to him. They didn't say by his male privilege. Second, I'm not so big on people using history as an excuse for trends that happen. It would be very ignorant of me to say that some things that have happened in the past aren't repeating themselves now. The difference is we have had plenty of time to learn from our mistakes, but are we able to if we have groups opposing change? And it depends on the type of change. We are such a divided society, it's not surprising that we don't get a whole lot done without blaming each other at every opportunity. And just before we continue, just because the right has risen somewhat and has, for example, Brexit, Trump, and certain parties in the Netherlands and in Germany and France gaining steam, doesn't mean that the right is synonymous with sexism. That is the clear implication. You are wrong. Sexism is everywhere.
What they've done, therefore, is simply take the magazine ads from the 1950s and entirely switch the genders.
Genius.
Ferroni takes the original woman's place in the photos, and every time an ad says wife, it became husband in the new version. Sounds simple, right?
Yep.
It is.
Yay.
And that's exactly what's so striking about it.
What you call striking, I call moderately amusing because it doesn't really highlight any genuine sexism in society today. Oh, and because Anime Renee covered a video with lots of these as well, I just want to play a clip of a couple of the ones she had, because these are golden.
Does your husband look younger than you do? Because that's a crime.
What does he have to do with anything? I don't care if he looks younger than me or not.
How many wives look older than their years and tragically older than their husband?
Older than their husband.
Getting older is a tragedy, apparently.
Tragic.
This is an advertisement for coffee?
This looks like an ad for 50 Shades of Grey.
This just makes me realize everything on Mad Men is not an exaggeration.
Did you also realize that all these ads are half a century old and no longer applicable to Western society?
Your guy, your number one reason for my doll.
Be the you he likes?
Good to be around any day of the month.
My vagina can't.
I totally thought this was like, your guy's gonna give you a headache. Nope. Take my doll.
No.
It's so you cannot give him a headache by being a bitch.
You're proving the point of the ad. Here, have some of my doll.
We may know that something exists or a system is unfair, but it doesn't truly hit us until we actually see it in practice or are put in the position of the group that is being oppressed or discriminated against, says Ferroni.
Ferroni's so virtuous. I like him. Serious comment. Cassie J learnt this when she made her Red Pill movie and found out that men weren't exactly as privileged as she was being led to believe. But I'm guessing that doesn't count because men were the beneficiaries of oppression? Oh, I don't like that word.
Explaining their motives behind the idea, and Crawford agrees. I think that reversing the roles and really emphasising how it feels to walk in another person's shoes is the best way to have a true understanding of one another as people, she says, and that's really at the heart of all their photos.
This idea went from simplicity to amusing to kind of plagiarism, for example, and I will of course link this below. It's used quite a lot, in fact, in older content. I remember V made a video on this, and I was certainly reminded by Jason Brazil about it, where Nora Vincent dressed up as a man and lived as a man for 18 months. And what she discovered, for example, was that it wasn't so much who you were that got you any respect. It's that people took you at face value. If you did your job, held up your end, and treated them with passing respect they accorded you, you were alright. That's a quote. Essentially, you earned respect, you gave respect, you were treated equally. And Nora Vincent herself admitted that she had more respect for men because of it.
This wasn't just a stunt. This was about learning. This is a human project. It was about finding something out about the human creature, and I learned it the best possible way because I went through it.
Nora says she's healed now and glad to be rid of Ned, but her views about men have changed forever.
Men are suffering. They have different problems than women have, but they don't have it better. They need our sympathy, they need our love, and they need each other more than anything else. They need to be together.
Do you think women understand what it's like to be a man?
Not at all. No clue. No idea.
John Guarnaschelli thinks Nora's conclusions that men are just as emotionally vulnerable as women are important and will be taken seriously because they came from a woman.
While it is an old video, I do find it fascinating that even though men's issues are continually raised, they are instead ignored and these things happen. Articles like this from Bustle happen. And to me, the more insulting part is genuine cases of sexism are ignored in place of these more redundant and repeatedly debunked supposed sexist acts. And this applies to both men and women. It's just something I've noticed more and more, that a lot of men's issues get ignored. Whether it be the Red Pill movie, whether it be Philip Davis raising it repeatedly in Parliament and being shouted down by people who are supposed to represent everyone in our country, but only seem interested in representing one gender of it. This article is trash, and Bustle is fast becoming my favourite lolcow. I may do more of them in the future if I get bored enough. Thank you all for listening.